Yeah, no, totally. I think there is a huge disconnect between math and real life. It's like math for most students is like this abstract thing that I'm never going to use.
Yes.
Right. And there are parts of math that I always tell my students, is like, the good news is you're never going to use this again. It's okay. When they're in more advanced, levels and whatnot. But yeah, I think there is a huge disconnect between what an exercise is versus how you could potentially use it in life. Just yesterday I was teaching a student, I do chemistry and biology as well. And I was teaching her about half-lives, and she was having trouble understanding like how to calculate how many half-lives have happened, and I was like, okay, we're gonna make juice. And she's like, what?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so we're gonna make orange juice or guava juice or whatever. And I was like, okay, so if you have, what was it that I told her? It was like, if I squeeze, 10 guavas in 20 minutes, how long does it take me to squeeze one guava? And she was like, oh, 2 minutes. I was like, well, that's exactly how half-lives work. It's like, if it's 3 half-lives, it takes, 100,000 years. And how long does it take one half-life, or whatever. And she got it, So it's that disconnect between, how would you ever use that? I was like, well, if you put on a guava business, I don't know, like a guava juice business, You will use this. You got to find out how long it's going to take you.
I think that's the main. That's really you get to a really interesting point, because we have this thing called realistic mathematics education that got introduced for the sake of letting children understand or get a better grip or sense of what you can do with maths. So it will be more in their like you say, their environment. So it's more understandable. The more I don't know the English.
Like apply it to real life.
Yeah, apply it. Like you can get a sense of, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing. So but the point is, then you get this weird exercises like
I saw that. I saw your video on that.
What?
I saw your video on that.
Oh yeah.
But he has 60 watermelons.
Yeah. So I mean, why? What were you thinking? I mean, you have students there that are really visual. They are like, what? And I can relate. I understand. So it's just why you don't really recognize that it's an abstract thing sometimes, but just make it more fun, make it like it's a game, or make it like it's a drawing, or make it whatever, but just don't push it to there. You have to be really using it in your own life in a later stage. Why not use it now? You're drawing and you're making figures, you're playing games. This is your life, so it relates to your life. I think we're overthinking, making it really in the future you have to have maybe you have to use this or that. No, it's just problem solving, and just be honest, it's abstract sometimes, but it's fun. And I think that's more important than really to teach something that in later life they will have exactly that same way, because we can't look in the future. We don't know what kind of problems they will run into, but what we know is that they will run into problems. So if we have a problem that they can think about, that they can then and they want to do right now, then you're doing math. That's what I think. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what I said on my video. It's like math is not about formulas. It is about logical steps.
Yes.
And that's something that I wish more teachers would teach, about. It's like, this is not about getting the right answer. It is for me way more important that my student understands what they're doing than getting the right answer. I mean, eventually they will get the right answer, right? If they do they follow the logical steps to it. But yeah, it's sad that we don't, we make math so like abstract, and so like this is not life. This is only very specific scenarios that you'll ever use it,
Yeah, that's not necessary. That's well, yeah, that's true. But also there's an over. I kind of get a double feeling about it, because some teachers really, when you have calculus, then you really over make it more important than it is. I don't know, is that over? I don't know what the word is, but when you will say, but you have to really understand this, how you have to calculate this difficult, just 123 times 367. You have to really know how to do that. And I'm also thinking, like, why? I mean, I have a telephone with a calculator on it if I want to.
Right.
I mean, this is also not really that's not the point. We want to know how to calculate it, but it's not like we really want to automatize those kinds of calculations. I mean, there's a weird way that we are not being really honest to students about what what math in real life is, and I'm worried that a lot of teachers don't even know what math in real life is.
That's true. Yeah,
I hear people say that, like, do you have to know this? And then I think, why? Can you explain why? If you can't explain why, then how are you supposed to get the message through? I mean,
for sure.
You're talking. I mean, students can understand you; they really can relate. So if you're saying stuff that you don't really feel, they will sense that. You don't think so?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think there's, I guess, a degree of like, you can see through it. It's just like with anything else. It's like why are you teaching this? Like why? What's the point? Oh, because it's in the curriculum. That's not a good enough answer.
Right. And
it is not a good enough answer.
And that's what I mean. In 20 years of teaching, I feel like in the beginning I was trying to get out of it, like saying, we have to know this, and maybe you have to know this, you use it in the future, maybe not, but it's just really important for you. But I never said why. I never could really get a grip on why. I just thought, okay, it's good for problem solving, that's it.
Yeah.
And now I really think it's more than that. I think I can answer more whys than before, but I never see that. I'm not really seeing that debate or that honesty that talks about that in the open. We really tend to hide ourselves behind the curriculum, and I think that's not really smart to do, because the curriculum is not the guideline for mathematical understanding. I think the teacher is the center of everything for the students anyway. So you really have to think about. I think a teacher should think about think for themselves why I am spreading this message, what I want to teach them. And so to hear you say those things, I really feel like, that's that kind of vibe I would like to see more in a math class.
Yeah. Isn't it a paradox though, that I think it's really funny, because it's like the whole point of teaching math is to make logical decisions, right? But yet when we're trying to explain why we're teaching math, it's like, because there's no reason for it. Well, why are you teaching this specific subject? I don't know,
Yeah, but so. but then I think in everything you do in life, there's a reason. And I think also, at least when you're into math and when you like the subject, there's a reason why it's important for you, why you think it's important that your students will understand this. So I think before giving an answer, you should ask yourself why. And I think we tend to want to give the answer straight away without really thinking about it. And I think there's a lot of to be gained to really. I mean, you're not the answer book. You don't have to have an answer straight away, but just give your answer as honest as possible, and not just because you're the teacher that's supposed to give an answer. I'm really I saw this TED talk from Daniel Finkel where he said that you're not the answer book. So why I really have that in my mind. But it's really strong to can say, I don't know, but there is a reason and I will find it out and I will tell you next time. And then, there's like this weird, at least for me in the beginning when I started teaching, like you are the teacher, you're supposed to know everything. I don't know how that works with you guys there, but I really feel that students every year when they come, they're like, oh, you're the Messiah, you're the man, you're the guru, you should know everything. But I don't even want to be that kind of guy. I just want them to feel confident to can make mistakes and know that they have that power too, that everybody has that power.
I actually, my experience is a little bit different because I tutor. Like I don't teach classes, right? Like
you don't teach classes. You told, okay,
So I tutor one-on-one for the most part, which I think to me has been very eye-opening. Like I said, with understanding, how all of my students are so different. They're so different, from each other, and it's incredible because it's like I have some that are artists. I have some that are just brilliant at math. Like sometimes I'm like, what am I doing here? You're smarter than me, But to your point, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
Well, I guess my point was not really clear. I was referring a lot of stuff. I think.
Yeah. Sorry. No. Yeah. About having all the answers.
Yes.
Right. So, So I just the other day, one of my students, I made a mistake, right, and on a calculation or something, and she saw it, but she didn't say anything. And it was really funny because I went back and I realized it. I was like, hey, I made a mistake here. Did you not? She's like, yeah, I saw it. I was like, why didn't you say anything? She's like, because I thought you were supposed to know it all. And I was like, so I am a god.
That's so
no, I am human too. I make mistakes and I will make mistakes. And I told her, it's like, please question me. Like, please, if you see me doing something incorrect, tell me, because I'm not going to do everything perfect. It's impossible. It's impossible,
Yeah, that's great.
But I think it's really funny that you mentioned that.
Yeah, I think there's some kind of maybe in the students like, oh, well, what if I'm not right and this is supposed to be true and then I will look silly or whatever. I think that's kind of fear or low self-esteem to not wanting to say that. I remember a somewhat similar situation with one of my first tutoring students that really I learned a lot from that experience. And she always, when she answered like with a question mark. So like 20? and then I said, no. And then I said, oh, 21, And then later she really, but she made a lot of mistakes. So I understand that was the reason she didn't want to say 20. No. That you want to be ahead of that. But then later she was really making less mistakes. So she was really, she's supposed to have more confidence, in my opinion, because she gave all the right answers. Every time was like, 20? Yes, that's correct. Oh, yeah. 15? Yes, 15. So then I was thinking, no, we have to break this cycle. So she said 15. I said, you sure? And said, oh no. But it was correct. So she was like, 16 then? No. 14. No. But, huh? I don't know. I said, well, you already gave the correct answer. But what? Huh? So 15. Yes. I was, and then but I did that a few times, and then later she got like 15. I said, are you sure? Yes. So really, that took a long time, but at the end she was just laughing and she said 15. I said, you sure? Yes, I'm sure. 15. So that you should.
Yeah.
That confidence, that's not really easy, but in one-on-one tutoring you can play with that, and that's really fun to do.
Yeah, I have students, they do that to me all the time too, and my response is like, are you asking or are you telling me? And they're like, I'm telling you. Why? Oh man, but that is really funny. Yeah, it is, like I said, it's like confidence is the number one issue.
Yeah.
And it's like, because, like, one thing I've told my students before is like, sometimes, a teacher will explain something, right, to you, and you don't get it, right? And you're like, I mentioned that on my video, right? It's like you're all confused and whatnot, and it's like maybe they just didn't explain it in a way that you understand, and that's what I try to go around that, and which like you mentioned, I have a lot more playroom, I guess, with when I'm tutoring, but it's like, okay, so let's try this a different way, and then let's try this a different way, and let's try this a different way, and eventually they get it, but it's like, sometimes I have to remind myself, like, okay, this is not the way this student thinks, so let me do it in a way that they do. And sometimes it takes extra steps too, like sometimes they have to do the multiplication or whatever, like they have to see it. If they don't see it, they don't get it. And it's like, that's totally fine with me. Like just do what works for you. And if you got to do an extra 20 steps to get to the right answer, that's fine. I was just thinking of factoring, for example, right? When the leading coefficient is 1, right? You don't need to do the whole, like multiplying, the first one with the last one, and then making the middle one, the both of them, and then solving for it. Some of my students still have to do that. And I was like, well, then that's fine. It takes an extra 2, 3, 4 steps, but that's okay. You do what works for you. And again, it comes back to like, well, this may not be your forte, but there's nothing to be ashamed about, because I'm sure you're great at other things.
Yeah, that shame is really can also get back, that because it's kind of a negative energy that will come back to you, because what happened in the past before with me, that some students didn't understand it, but like 80% of the class did, but 20% not, and they were just not feeling the confidence to ask, or they looked and they think, oh well, they felt ashamed. But then together they will come and they will say, yeah, but didn't you understand? No, I didn't understand that as well. And then you get some kind of negative energy that's saying that, well, it was explained in a bad way. You get then like, you don't want that kind of energy, I think. Well, that's why I really like what you say. You said 2 things in the video. One was ask another student that can explain you. Maybe he or she can explain it in a different way that you understand. And there are more students in the class that will have this problem, so really don't worry about it. And the other thing was, a good teacher will show you more options. I feel the same way. I think that at least when I try to give more options, and especially when somebody asks. So that should be, that feeling that you can really ask other students, can ask the teacher, that it's okay to don't understand something the first time you see it. I think that's a really powerful message that you have to get across. Because at the end, it's not about the information that the teacher gave you. It's far much more important your thinking process, how that develops. So getting the misconception in your process is far more valuable than the information you will get from the teacher. It always have to connect on your knowledge. So if you have a misconception in your knowledge, that's you first have to really get a grip on that.
No, for sure. And that's one thing I focus with them too. It's like, okay, so let's do it the way that you and sometimes I would have them explain it back to me so that I can understand what is their thought process.
Yeah, we can't at least I have 30 students. You have 1, so that's maybe more signals, but how I'm supposed to know what is in the mind? If somebody said you can't see behind the eyes. It's like, how you can see behind the eyes? I can see them looking, smiling, even nodding. But sometimes I even say, well, you say yes, but you mean yes?
That's one thing I've had to learn with my students. Is like, I gotta be a mind reader, because they're like, I would ask them, do you have any questions? No. I'm like, are you sure you got it? And they're like, yeah. But then we do it the next one, and they're like, I still don't get it. It's like, why do you say yeah? And I think is this misconception of like, I remember when I was in college, actually, this is really funny. It's not funny, but it's funny now. I was a math major, right, for 3 years, and eventually I got tired of it, and I was like, I want to be a biologist, right? But anyway, and now I'm an actress, which is totally different. But anyway, I remember that there was this ridiculous pseudo hierarchy, of like mathematicians are at the top, and then physicists go next, and then maybe chemists, and then biologists, and then like business people. Like that's not a real major, and it's ridiculous because it's like we need all of them. And I actually just recently saw a video of this. There's this a cappella group or whatever. This a cappella, these two guys, and they had this video of like physics, math, biology, and chemistry singing, and it was hilarious. Like they were debating who was the better, the better science or whatever. And I think it's silly that's something that we have to break from. Like I personally believe that your mind is your most powerful asset. Right. I think that your mind should be nourished more than any other part of your body. But at the same time, it's not all about logic, right? Like that is one aspect of your mind that I think should be nourished too, right? Because I think that it extrapolates to real life solutions, like real life problems. But I think also mindset is so much more important, like understanding who you are, understanding what is it that you're good at and what is it that you're not, and what is it that needs to be improved and what not, and what things you can't really improve. Like one thing that I have is I have terrible memory. Like my memory is so bad. And I always make the joke that that's why I married my husband, because he's my memory, like he reminds me of everything, but I'm losing my train of thought here. See, because my memory, terrible. So this hierarchy, right? Like it's much more important to understand, logically, because in life you're going to be presented with 1,000 problems, right? And in our brain, every time that we are, the emotions run high, the logic goes down, right? And I think that if we all develop that capability of, drawing logical steps, to a solution, maybe emotions would not take over so much, because it's like sometimes it is better to just step away from the problem, think of it as logical steps, like I'm at point A, how do I get to point B? And then do that, and that will help you push through those emotions, because it's the right thing to do, is the logical thing to do, and I think that is something that I think personally we should implement in math, because there's so many, problems that people go through, that I'm like, sometimes I'm that friend that is very blunt, and I'm like, well, this is all you gotta do. And they're like, no, but it's not that easy. I'm like, I didn't say it was easy. I said it's simple. This is what you gotta do, And I think if we tend to think more logically, we would be more capable of, taking the right steps to a solution. In general, it's like it doesn't even have to be crazy, bad problems, but like just something as simple as organizing your day, like.
Yeah,
hey.
but I think at the same time, you say it's logic and mindset. I think it's the way of prioritize your stuff is also really personal. I think just being conscious. I think conscious is the word that I'm looking for. Consciousness, that what you want, feel, think. You can really adapt and I think it's not a really nice word, a blind spot, but people have blind spot. You just have, you live by your own perception of reality. So,
yep.
I don't think that it could be that I'm really thinking that this is the perfect solution, but for you, it's not, because I don't have all the information that you have. Just the openness of saying that, okay, well, I don't have all the answers, but with my logical steps, I think in this way that could help you. So we tend to, with logic tend to be also really an overpower. I think it's what I really want to say is that I think that math is a subject that is seen like really absolute and abstract, and it's this way, it's right or wrong. And I think it's more than that. I think it's problem solving, but also with extras. So you can really adapt it in new situations and not want to oversimplify. I'm totally agreeing that math makes world more easy and simple, and that you can simplify, model your world, but don't think that everything is as easy, because we see now people using statistics and saying, oh, it's just that easy now with COVID and everything, that it's just this. And then the other people say, no, it's this. Look, with my logical steps, there is maybe a gray area. It's not black or white.
Right.
That's what I want to say.
Yeah.